Hello guys and welcome to another video. This time, as you can tell by the title, is a Terraria early hard mode guide. I would also like to say that this video is mainly for new players who find the game a bit overwhelming, especially when entering hard mode. But more experienced players might also learn something. This will probably be a quite long video, so I'll have some guidelines in the description below, so that you can get to kind of where the point you are in the game and what you need help with. But feel free to watch the entire video if you want as well. And before we start, by early hard mode I mean from the point where you first enter hard mode to when you have defeated the 3 mechanical bosses. I'll get more into what those bosses are later. Also, having the Terraria wiki open while watching this video will also help a ton, as some items have quite a few steps to make them. And explaining how to make them would make the video unnecessarily long. Also note that this is mostly aimed towards PC users, but if you play Terraria on another platform, most of this will still work. So, once you have defeated the wall of flesh, hard mode is immediately activated in the world. Note that it's only the world and not your character, so you can still create a new world and join it with your character to gather more stuff if you find the hard mode enemies a bit too difficult in the beginning. Now, once you've managed to defeat the wall of flesh, you should have received a hammer called the Pawn Hammer. With that you are able to destroy altars located in the Crimson or Corruption biome. Basically in those little caves where you fought the Brain of Cthulhu or the Eater of Worlds. And though that depends on what you have in the world. So as soon as you've grabbed the hammer, go to Corruption and the Crimson biome and destroy as many altars as you possibly can. The more altars you destroy, the better. By doing this you will spawn 3 new ores in your world. These ores can be smelted into bars and made into quite strong tools, armors and weapons that are better than any armor that you currently have. These are basically the first 3 hard mode ores, which are basically 3 different tiers. The first tier is Cobalt or Palladium. Once you've destroyed your first altar, you will see whether you get Cobalt or Palladium. Well, it doesn't really matter which one you get. To mine these you will need a Molten Pickaxe or a Reaver Shark. These ores spawn in the underground and caven layer. The second tier is Mithril or Orichalcum ore. Once again, when you have destroyed the second altar, you will see whether you get Mithril or Orichalcum in your world. It doesn't really matter. To mine these ores you will need a Cobalt Pickaxe or Drill or a Palladium Pickaxe or Drill. These ores spawn in the caven layer. You will need 25 bars in total, 15 for Pickaxe or Drill and 10 to make an anvil, which is required to craft most hard mode items, including Mithril / Orichalcum gear. And this will replace your regular anvil. So everything that the anvil can craft, the Mithril or Orichalcum ore can craft, and more. So the third and final tier is Adamantite and Titanium ore. So once you've destroyed the third altar you will see which one you get. Once again, it doesn't matter. And to mine these ores you will need a Mithril, Pickaxe, Drill or Orichalcum Pickaxe or Drill. These ores spawn in the caven layer, normally at lava depth. Also note that you will need an Adamantite / Titanium forge to smelt the ores into bars. To make the forge you will need 30 ores and craft it next to Mithril or Orichalcum anvil. So it's also worth mentioning that a good strategy to find Adamantite or Titanium is to go as deep below as you possibly can, normally around hell level if you say so, and then you should see some. I recommend using a Spelunker potion or 2, as they will definitely help the hunt for these, as they are quite rare sometimes. Now, what is actually worth making using these ores from the first tier to the last tier? Well, hunting for these ores can be, as I said, kind of painful, as they are quite hard to find sometimes, especially the last tier. So I recommend just making the pickaxe and not make anything else, so that you can move on to the next tier as soon as possible. But let's say you've managed to find enough ores of the first tier to make a pickaxe. Once you're searching for the next tier of ores, it can be a good idea to mine the previous tier and make armor and weapons out of that if you find the monsters dealing too much damage on you, or if you deal too little damage yourself. Something I almost forgot to mention is that if you found it easy to kill the wall of flesh, then actually can be a great idea to farm it, because the weapons that it drops can be very useful in early hard mode. The Breaker Blade, the Clockwork Assault Rifle and the Magic Pew Pew thing. Those are very good weapons in the beginning, as well as it drops those Sorcerer Emblem, Ranger Emblem, Melee Emblem. Those are very useful, so farm it if you can. if you thought it was easy. Oh yes, laser rifle is what it's called. Now, there are also many other things you can do once you've entered hard mode to get better gear. Two really powerful melee weapons you can basically get as soon as you enter hard mode are Amarok and Hellfire, both of which are yo-yos. What makes these so powerful is because of an accessory that you can buy from the skeleton merchant. You can find him in the underground and caven layers, so you should find him sometime when searching for ores. What you want to buy from him is a yo-yo glove and a counterweight. So the color of the counterweight doesn't matter at all. Just keep in mind that the yo-yo glove is 50 gold and the counterweight is 5 gold. But you will use this accessory for a really long time, so it's definitely worth the money. The yo-yo glove is an accessory that allows you to use 2 yo-yos at once. Note that you don't need 2 yo-yos. I thought this in the beginning, but you don't. Which essentially doubles the DPS. And if you combine this with a white string, yo-yo glove and a counterweight, you can make a yo-yo bag, which simply combines the powers of the accessories to one slot. So the Amarok or Hellfire combined with the yo-yo bag is a really powerful starting weapon. Another great weapon you can get is if you kill Hallowed Mimics. They have a 20% chance of dropping a bow called the Daedalus Storm Bow. This bow has insanely high DPS against most of the mechanical bosses if you use it with holy arrows, which can be made using unicorn horns and pixie dust. Keep in mind that the Hallowed Mimics have very high HP, 3,000 or 4,000 or so, and they can deal a ton of damage, so fighting them in an open area is recommended. To spawn it you need to craft a key of light using 15 souls of light, and then place the key inside an empty chest, and then the chest will come to life and try to kill you. I highly recommend fighting the mimic on a flat surface, as I said, using a hard mode weapon, preferably using yo-yos plus yo-yo bag, as they are very powerful. These mimics can also spawn in the underground hallow, but they are quite difficult to fight down below, but if you see one, definitely give it a shot. If you have a Crimson World, a great magic weapon for crowd control that you can get early on is the Golden Shower. That name. Okay. Jokes aside, to make it you will need 20 Ichor, which can be obtained by killing Ichor stickers in the underground Crimson. You will also need a Spell Tome, which you can buy from the Wizard, as well as 15 Souls of Night, which are dropped in the underground Crimson as well. It's worth mentioning that this weapon causes a debuff against the enemies you hit, reducing their defense. So it can be a good strategy for longer fights to first give them the debuff and then use a stronger weapon for very high DPS. There's another spell called Crystal Storm, which you can also get as soon as you enter hard mode. Note that it doesn't matter if you have Crimson or Corruption in this world, the Crystal Storm can be obtained in both. To make this you need 1 Spell Tome, 15 Souls of Light, 20 Crystal Shards, which can be mined in the Underground Hallow. The Crystal Storm is also a very good starting weapon since you can get it so early. It's great for dealing massive damage against one target, while the other spells, Cursed Flames and Golden Shower, are more for crowd control. If you have a Corruption World, you can get the Cursed Flames, which is another great spell, which basically you can get as soon as you enter hard mode, same as the other spells. You need 1 Spell Tome, 15 Souls of Night and 20 Cursed Flames to make this. Cursed Flame, the item, Cursed Flames is the spell, don't confuse those. But the Cursed Flame is dropped by World Feeders and Clingers, which you can find in the Underground Corruption. Now, apart from weapons, you can also make wings. I highly recommend getting wings as soon as you can, as they basically do what rocket boots do, just a lot better. And you don't take any fall damage, and you can glide, so everything is good. I normally get the fair wings as they are quite easy to get and they perform great. You need 100 pixie dust as well as 20 souls of flight. Pixie dust can easily be obtained by killing pixies in the Hallow biome. Soul of Flight is obtained by killing the Wyvern. So the Wyvern can be kind of hard to kill for new players, so I recommend having at least Molten Armor, Rocking Boots and some kind of weapon that can penetrate multiple enemies. So since the Wyvern is basically a worm in this game, each segment takes its own damage, if that makes any sense. Meaning that using a weapon like the Golden Shower will deal damage to each segment, resulting in very high DPS. The basic strategy is just to have a long platform in the sky, stay as low as possible, and when it charges towards you, you just have to jump. You will have to kill 2 to 4 of these. Golden Shower, Crystal Storm works okay, the Meteor Staff, I think it's called, works great as well. Killing your first mechanical boss. If you have never killed a mechanical boss before, I highly recommend starting with the Destroyer. It may sound kind of stupid since he has the most HP out of all of them, but in my experience he's the easiest. So, the gear I would recommend for beginners. For armor, titanium or adamantite. So remember, this is the highest tier of mineable ores you can currently get. Ranged or melee helm doesn't really matter. Now for the weapon, the Daedalus Stormbow. Arrows, holy arrows. Note that the weapon and the arrows, those are really important. Now for the accessories. I recommend having wings so that you can fly and in case you get trapped in the Destroyer or something. You also need the Ranger emblem, which increases ranged damage by 15% or so. Philosopher's Stone or Charm of Myths are recommended. Philosopher's Stone basically reduces the recharge time of the healing potions. I also recommend having a cross necklace or star cloak. So the cross necklace basically increases the amount of time you're invincible after being struck by something. And since you will be hit quite a lot when fighting the Destroyer, I recommend having it. Also, if you combine the cross necklace with the star cloak, you can make the Star of Whale, I think it's called. Can't remember. I will have a picture on it on the screen, which combines the cross necklace and star cloak, obviously. Now, magic quiver is also nice to have, but it's not required. Also for potions, I recommend having the best healing potion that you possibly can. I think you should have access to greater healing potions, which heals 150. I also recommend having some kind of damage boosting, like the Archer's potion I think it is. And then having Iron Skin potions. Those are highly recommended. What's actually important for this strategy is the Daedalus Stormbow and the Holy Arrows. I have personally killed all of the hard mode bosses using those weapons with molten armor even. Adamantite or titanium is still recommended for newer players. So what you basically want to do for the fight is go a few blocks from the ground, well 100 blocks or so, I don't know, 50 to 100, and then spawn the boss. Just stay up on the platform and just spray down with the Stormbow. If you only want to use a magic weapon, then the Meteor Staff is a quite good option. It basically does what the Stormbow does, but it's a magic weapon. And for melee, chain guillotines or Fetid bagnacks? They are good options. And to actually spawn the Destroyer you will need a mechanical worm, which can be crafted at a mithril anvil using 6 rotten chunk or vertebrae, 6 Soul of Night and 5 iron bar or lead bars, depending on what you have in your world. The Destroyer is also immune to all debuffs, so the Golden Shower debuff doesn't work here, sorry. And before fighting the Destroyer or any other boss, I highly recommend waiting until it's just about to turn night. That way you will get the most amount of fight as possible. Basically you will have the longest time possible. Why I recommend killing this boss first is because it's quite easy to kill. And 2, it drops Souls of Might, which can be used to craft a very powerful ranged weapon called the Mega Shark, which is basically a mini shark on steroids. The Mega Shark is very useful against the other mechanical bosses. Quick tip, after defeating any mechanical boss you can go to the jungle or underground jungle, and any monster now has a chance to drop Yellets, which are yo-yos with a lot more damage compared to the previous tier of yo-yos. I highly recommend getting those. And quick tip number 2, the wiki is your best friend, use it as often as you can. Anyways, I really hope that you've learned something by watching this video and listening to me. If you still have any questions, you can ask them in the description below. Goodbye, and have a great time playing Terraria.